Before Egypt's pyramids rose high into the skies, gods reigned in cosmic glory. In a celestial realm of golden palaces and star-strewn skies, the divine siblings, Osiris, Isis, Seth, and Nephthys, are born to shape Egypt's destiny. Osiris, crowned as Pharaoh, brings prosperity to the Nile, while Seth, god of storms, battles the desert's chaos in solitude. But when the people worship Osiris and ignore Seth's sacrifices, jealousy festers like a venomous serpent. Envy ignites in Seth's heart. Why not him as king? At a lavish feast, Seth lays a trap, sealing Osiris in an enchanted coffin and casting him into the Nile. As Egypt trembles under Seth's stolen crown, Isis, goddess of magic, feels her husband's life fading and roars vengeance. Seth, you will pay. A brother's envy, a wife's wrath, a battle for the soul of Egypt begins. Who will win? Stay with us and watch as the clash of gods begins.
In the beginning, at the dawn of time, long before the pyramids touched the sky, and before mortals walked the earth, the gods ruled in celestial harmony. Geb, the earth god, stretched his green body across the land, and Nut, the sky goddess, arched her star-strewn form above him. From their love sprang 4 children, each a spark of divinity destined to shape the fate of Egypt. First came Osiris, a boy with eyes like the fertile Nile, brimming with kindness and vision. Next was Seth, his younger brother, whose fiery spirit crackled like desert storms. Then, in a burst of celestial light, twin girls arrived: Isis, radiant with wisdom, and Nephthys, gentle and shadowed with mystery. This divine family dwelt in the godly realm, a shimmering paradise where the council of gods lived together. These included Atum, the oldest of them, and who created all others. There also lived Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of water, amongst many others. Amongst them Ra, the sun god who roamed the skies in a brilliant boat, blazed brightest, and the siblings liked to chase after, cheer him on wherever he passed by their house. The 4 siblings grew in harmony, their laughter echoing through golden halls of their palace in the godly realm, playing tricks with magic and testing their powers. Osiris, ever the leader, taught his siblings games of strategy. He wove fields of golden grain from thin air, delighting his parents. Seth, bold and restless, challenged them to contests of strength. He conjured whirlwinds and summoned great storms, grinning as they danced. Isis, on her part, and with her keen mind, mastered spells of healing. She often spun spells that made stars twinkle in ways unseen before. Nephthys, gentle yet mysterious, whispered secrets to the wind. With a magical voice, she sang songs that hushed the winds. Their parents watched them, keenly noting each child's natures, dreaming of their roles in the world of men below. When they came of age, Geb and Nut decreed their destinies. The siblings would be married to each other and sent to Earth, where humans needed their divine guidance and protection. One day, Geb and Nut summoned the siblings to a grand wedding festival. With joy, they paired Osiris with Isis, their love a beacon of unity, and Nephthys with Seth, hoping her calm would temper his tempest. The parents then turned to Ra, the overseer of Egypt, and asked him to ferry their children to Earth, to live among humans and guide them. Ra welcomed the siblings onto his sunboat, a vessel of golden light that rode the heavens. Seth sat proudly at the front next to Ra, his eyes fierce and determined, while his siblings sat behind them. Then, with Ra's golden sunboat as their chariot, the 4 gods started their journey into Egypt. They sailed across the sky for 12 human hours, which was only a trillionth of a second in godly hours, passing by the many houses of the thousands of other gods along the way. Eventually, for its final leg before arriving in Egypt, the boat dipped into the underworld, where darkness loomed. But this part of the journey was perilous. Danger lurked in the darkness. As Ra's vessel emerged from the underworld, the great serpent Apep, enemy of light, lunged from the abyss, jaws wide enough to swallow the sun itself. Apep stretched its gaping jaw, threatening to swallow the sun. Ra faltered, but Seth leaped forward, his strength a thunderclap. He roared and struck the beast with his spear, pushing him to the side. But Apep, now angered, came back with renewed ferociousness. Before any of his siblings could jump, once again Seth lunged forward and, summoning a great stormy cloud, he wrestled Apep and drove the great snake back into the shadows. Ra was impressed and praised Seth's strength. He looked at him with respect and admiration. Seth beamed with pride as his siblings celebrated his strength and courage. At dawn, they arrived. The boat emerged into Egypt, a land split between the Nile's green embrace and the desert's harsh expanse. When the sun boat of Ra emerged into Egypt, it unveiled a land of breathtaking contrasts, a realm where life and desolation danced in eternal balance. The Nile River, a shimmering ribbon of sapphire, wove through the heart of the land, its gentle floods breathing vitality into the black land, the fertile plains known as Kemet. Here, lush fields of emerald barley and golden wheat swayed under the sun's caress, nourished by the river's silt. Papyrus reeds fringed the banks, their feathery tips whispering secrets to the breeze, while lotus blossoms floated like stars on the water's surface. Villages of mud brick homes, their walls painted with vibrant ochre and blue, clustered along the Nile, alive with the laughter of children, the chants of priests, and the hum of farmers tending crops. Date palms and sycamore figs cast dappled shade, their fruits a gift of abundance, and ibises waded in the shallows, their curved beaks gleaming like crescent moons. Beyond this fertile land stretched the Red Land, Deshret, a vast and unforgiving desert that encircled Egypt with a threatening embrace. Towering dunes of burnished gold shifted under the wind's restless hand, their crests glowing fiery at dawn and dusk. Jagged cliffs of limestone and sandstone loomed in the distance, carved by time into haunting shapes that seemed to whisper of vile spirits. The air shimmered with heat, and sudden sandstorms could roar to life, veiling the sky in a gritty haze. Yet even here, life flickered. Hardy acacias clung to hidden oases, and jackals prowled under starlit skies, their cries echoing through the silence. The desert was a place of trials, where chaos lurked in the form of scorpions, serpents, and the unpredictable wrath of storms, testing any who dared its expanse, and so few people dared approach it, leaving it desolate and lonely. As the four siblings stood on top of the boat, watching keenly these contrasting lands, Ra handed each of them a magical scroll. "These are letters from your parents," he told them. "They contain the roles they have assigned to each of you." The siblings clasped the letters and walked out of the boat and stepped on the land of Egypt. "I shall watch over you," Ra said, his voice warm as sunlight. The boat ascended till it disappeared far into the sky, and the sun shone bright, illuminating the siblings as they unrolled their scrolls, ready to claim their roles. Geb and Nut, in their wisdom, had assigned each child a purpose. Osiris was named god of fertility, agriculture, and prosperity. They crowned him the first pharaoh to rule over Egypt's Nile lands. Isis, named the goddess of magic, motherhood, and healing, stood by his side, her spells a shield for humanity. Seth, who took the title of god of chaos, storms, and disorder, was tasked with taming the desert, guarding the human realm from its external dangers. Finally, Nephthys, goddess of mourning and protection, joined Seth. Her gentle power meant to soften the wilds and ensure that the realms of humans remain peaceful. Along the life-giving Nile, where emerald waters kissed the earth, Osiris and Isis poured their divine essence into a land destined for greatness. Osiris, wearing his pharaonic crown, stood tall beneath the sun, his eyes alight with a vision of abundance. With hands that seemed to coax life from the very soil, he taught humanity the sacred art of sowing barley and emmer wheat, their golden stalks rising like prayers to the heavens. He guided calloused hands to carve channels from the Nile's generous floods, taming the river's wild pulse to nourish fields that stretched as far as the eye could see. Under his patient gaze, villagers stacked mud bricks kissed by the sun, raising homes that glowed amber at dusk, their rooftops alive with the chatter of families. Osiris walked among them, his laughter warm as the dawn, and wherever he stepped, the land answered. Orchards of figs and pomegranates burst forth, and lotus-filled pools mirrored the sky. His rule was a golden age unseen before. By his side, Isis wove enchantments that shimmered like gossamer over the land. Her voice, a melody of power, whispered spells that banished fevers and prevented people from suffering, knitting broken bones with gentle touches that soothed all. In birthing huts, she knelt beside women, her hands glowing with light that eased labor, bringing forth children whose cries rang like bells of hope. Isis taught healers to brew herbs into balms and chant wards against sickness, her wisdom a shield for Egypt's heart. Her presence was a blessing, her eyes holding secrets older than the river, and the people felt her love as a breeze that cooled the hottest noon. The people of the Nile, their hearts brimming with gratitude for Osiris and Isis, sang hymns that soared over the fields, their voices weaving tapestries of praise for their divine guardians. At dawn, they waded into the river's embrace, gathering lotus flowers, blue and white, their petals pure as the first light, and laid them at Osiris's feet, offerings to their beloved Pharaoh, whose rule turned dust to plenty. They hailed Isis as their protector, their mother, their sorceress, crowning her with garlands of reeds and star-shaped blooms. Temples of limestone and alabaster rose along the riverbanks, their pylons carved with scenes of Osiris enthroned and Isis weaving spells, their walls echoing with chants that carried to the gods. Incense curled skyward, mingling with the scent of lotuses, and festivals filled the air with drums and laughter. The people's love for Osiris and Isis shone brighter than Ra's midday sun, unaware of the shadow stirring in the desert beyond, and the gods that kept these dangerous forces at bay. Out in the vast, unforgiving expanse of Deshret, the Red Land, Seth and Nephthys confronted a world as wild as it was merciless. The desert stretched endlessly before them, and sandstorms fierce as a pride of lions roared across the wastes, their howls shaking the earth with primal fury. Seth, god of chaos, met them head-on, his muscular frame towering in the redness. He wrestled the storms, his hands gripping whirlwinds as if they were living beasts, forcing them to kneel in submission. Sparks flew from his eyes as he prevented volumes of sand from swallowing the lands of men, and the desert trembled at his might. Beside him, Nephthys moved like a shadow cast by a gentler light. Her voice, soft yet piercing, wove songs that danced across the barren wastes, their notes cooling the blistering air. With each verse, she carved winding paths through towering dunes, her delicate fingers tracing sigils in the sand that glowed faintly under starlight, guiding lost spirits to safety. Together they forged a realm of stark, haunting beauty, a land of crimson horizons and silent oases where acacias whispered secrets to the wind. But it was a lonely kingdom. No human eyes beheld their triumphs, no voices sang their praises, no temples rose to honor their deeds, no offerings of lotus or grain graced their altars. It was just the two of them, bound by duty, battling the desert's chaos in solitude, their victories swallowed by the endless sands. Under the cold gaze of a desert moon, Seth's heart grew heavy, a stone sinking in a sea of resentment. One evening, as he stood atop a dune, his spear planted in the ground, chest heaving from another storm subdued, Seth turned to Nephthys. Her silhouette framed by starlight, he growled at her, "I shield Egypt from this chaos, Nephthys." I crush the tempests that would bury the Nile's fields. I fight Apep, who threatens to drown the land in darkness, yet who sings my name." Before she answered him, he struck his spear down with so much violence, a mountain split into two, while adding, "No one! They all worship Osiris, that soft-handed brother of mine, pampered by their adoration, crowned by their love. He sits on a throne of green, while I choke on dust. Why not me as king?" Nephthys paused, her eyes shimmering with sorrow like pools reflecting a dying sky. She reached for him, her voice a tender melody against his rage. "Seth, your strength guards us all. The desert is yours, a canvas for your power. Osiris rules the living, but you shape the untamed. Is that not enough?" Her words sought to soothe, to weave peace as her songs tamed the sands, but they fell short, brushing against the iron of his pride. Seth turned away, his gaze piercing the horizon, where the Nile's distant green mocked him. Alone under a canopy of desert stars, his envy coiled tighter, a scorpion's sting pulsing in his soul. In a whisper that blended with the wind's low moan, he hissed, "If Osiris falls, the throne will be mine." He raised his hand in a fist and declared, "I will tear his crown from the earth and claim what I deserve." The desert drank his words, its silence a conspirator, and the winds carried them far, beyond the dunes, across the river, far beyond the desert. A shadow stirred, unseen but growing, its chill creeping toward Egypt's heart, where the seeds of betrayal took root in the stillness of the night. Seth's jealousy festered until it birthed a plan as cunning as it was cruel. He measured Osiris in secret, noting every inch of his brother's frame, and ordered a chest, a sarcophagus, carved from cedar, inlaid with gold and lapis, tailored to Osiris's exact form. The coffin gleamed irresistible, a prize to tempt any heart. Seth declared a grand feast in his desert domain, a 3-day celebration to honor the gods. He invited Osiris, Isis, Nephthys, and 72 allies, gods loyal to his cause. The first day sparkled with delights. Tables groaned under roasted quail, honeyed figs, and barley bread. Musicians played harps, and dancers twirled like flames. Osiris clapped, charmed by Seth's hospitality, while Isis smiled, though her eyes flicked warily to her brother. On the second day, Ra himself arrived, his sunboat gleaming. As a reward for Seth's continued battles against Apep, Ra gifted a river of red wine, brewed by his priests. "Drink and be merry," Ra boomed, departing as the gods raised cups. The wine flowed, laughter rose, and the night grew hazy. In a quiet tent, Osiris and Nephthys found themselves alone. Some say the wine clouded Osiris's mind, mistaking Nephthys for Isis, her twin. Others whisper Nephthys, awed by Osiris's glory, sought his embrace. Whatever the truth, their union sparked life, a child conceived in the shadows. By dawn, Nephthys knew she carried a son, but she kept silent, her heart torn. The third day dawned, and Seth unveiled his trap. At the feast's peak, he presented the sarcophagus, its beauty dazzling the crowd. "Whoever fits this coffin," he declared, "shall claim it." Gods tried, laughing, some too tall, others too broad, many too slight. Osiris, trusting, stepped forward. "Let me try," he said. Sensing danger, Nephthys tried to stop him. But before she could grab his hand, Osiris moved past her as swift as the wind and was soon lying within it. The fit was perfect, just as Seth had planned. As Osiris eased into the sarcophagus, its polished cedar walls shimmering like a captured galaxy, a serene trust softened his noble features, blind to the treachery coiled around him. The chest was no mere craftsmanship. It was a vessel of Seth's dark sorcery, forged in secret under moonless skies. Seth had measured Osiris's form with a predator's precision, but his true work was in the shadows, where he chanted curses over the artisans' tools, binding their chisels with spells drawn from the desert's heart. Golden inlays pulsed with hidden glyphs of entrapment, their light invisible yet hungry, while veins of blue stone, glowing like rivers under starlight, whispered enchantments that dulled the mind, lulling Osiris into a false peace. The sarcophagus fit him perfectly, not by chance, but by a magic that seemed to mold itself to his divine frame, a lover's embrace turned tomb. Its incantations dulled the senses, lulling Osiris into a false calm as he lay within, the fit so perfect it seemed the chest had grown around him like a second skin. Before Osiris could rise, Seth's conspirators struck, their movements a blur of predatory grace, swift as vipers lunging for prey. The 72 gods, their eyes burning with greed and dread, surged forward like a tide, their hands guided by both muscle and malice. As they moved, they chanted a low, guttural spell taught by Seth in clandestine rites beneath the dunes, a ritual of binding that wove their voices into a net of shadow. Seth raised his hand, his fingers tracing sigils in the air that flared crimson, summoning an unnatural wind that snuffed the banquet's torches, plunging the hall into a twilight heavy with foreboding. The conspirators' chant grew louder, its rhythm syncing with their actions, each word a thread tightening the spell. With a thunderous crash, they slammed the lid shut, the sound a death knell that shook the earth, their hands driving nails into the wood with frenzied precision, each strike a pulse of magic, sealing Osiris within. The lid's edges glowed with runes, flaring briefly as the spell locked, rendering the chest an unbreakable prison. Inside, Osiris's voice rose, muffled but desperate. "Brothers, free me, spare me!" His fists pounding against the enchanted wood, but the glyphs within pulsed, sapping his divine strength, their light dimming his radiance to a flicker. Seth stepped forward, his silhouette a tower of cold triumph, and drew a vial of molten lead from his cloak, its surface swirling with a sickly green sheen. Alchemical sorcery brewed in desert cauldrons, infused with chaos's essence. As the conspirators continued their chant, their voices a droning tide, Seth poured the lead over the sarcophagus's seams, each drop hissing like a serpent's curse, fusing the chest with a magic that repelled all counterspells. The fumes coiled upward, stinging the air with betrayal's acrid scent, while the conspirators, their faces taut under the spell's weight, looped ropes around the chest, cords braided with spells. Of confinement, glowing faintly as they knotted, binding Osiris's fate with sorcerous finality. Osiris fought within, his godly power straining against the chest's embrace, but Seth's magic was insidious, a venom that dulled his might. Each breath became a battle, the enchanted wood pressing like a stone on his chest, the glyphs whispering surrender. The conspirators, their ritual unbroken, lifted the sarcophagus, their swift movements synchronized by the chant's cadence, their arms trembling under its cursed weight. They staggered to the Nile's edge, where the river churned under a starless sky, its waters ensnared by Seth's final spell to carry the chest far from salvation. With a heave that echoed their chant's climax, they hurled it into the depths, the river parting with a mournful groan, its currents swallowing the sarcophagus like a secret buried in time. Osiris's spark vanished beneath the waves, trapped in a tomb woven of wood, lead, and dark magic, his doom sealed by a brother's envy. In a distant tent, draped in silks, embroidered with lotus and ankh, Isis sat among her friends, who updated her on the happenings in the godly realm ever since their departure. Suddenly, her laughter silenced as a chill stabbed her heart, sharp as a shard of moonlight. Her magic surged, a wildfire beneath her skin, sensing a tear in earthly balance, a sorcerous violation that reeked of Seth's hand. Whispers slithered through the crowd, servants trembling fears, conspirators veiled boasts. Seth, the chest, the river. Isis rose, her gown trailing like a storm's edge, and raced to the Nile's bank, where reeds quivered under her gaze. Her hands wove spells, silver threads dancing over the water, seeking the sarcophagus's trail. But Seth's enchantments clouded her sight, scattering her magic like ash in a gale. Her voice, raw with grief, called to Osiris, each syllable a counterspell against despair, yet the river's silence mocked her, guarding its stolen prize. Behind her, a cry rent the night. Nephthys, crumpled in a shadowed grove, her body gripped by the agony of birth of a son. She brought forth Anubis, his newborn eyes gleamed with a jackal's uncanny fire, as if he sensed the dark magic that had ensnared his father. Nephthys clutched him, her tears weaving joy with dread, knowing her son bound her to Osiris's tragedy in a tapestry Seth's sorcery could not unravel. Eager to claim his prize, Seth stormed through the darkness across the desert, his footsteps a drumbeat of conquest, each stride crackling with the residual hum of his spells. He reached Egypt's heart, where Osiris's throne of granite stood, its lotus carvings dimmed by betrayal's pall. With a roar that shattered the palace's stillness, Seth ascended, his spear a scepter of chaos, and bellowed, "I am Pharaoh." The air shivered with the echo of his magic, forcing nobles, priests, and farmers to their knees, their faces pale under his blazing glare. Yet their hearts wavered, sensing the throne's sanctity defiled, its balance tipped by a sorcery born of envy rather than rightfulness. The Nile flowed on, its currents whispering of Osiris's doom as Egypt trembled beneath the weight of a traitor's crown. Isis knelt by the Nile's edge, her fingers digging into the damp earth where reeds quivered under a starless sky. The river, dark as ebony, churned with a sinister calm, hiding the sarcophagus that bore Osiris away, its cedar walls sealed with Seth's glowing curses, drifting beyond her reach, his divine spark fading in its enchanted prison. Her magic flared, silver threads weaving over the water, but Seth's sorcery repelled them, scattering her spells like dust. "Osiris!" she cried, her voice raw, trembling with grief. Yet the Nile answered only with silence. A toddler's cry pierced the night. Nephthys, in a shadowed grove, cradling her newborn Anubis, his jackal eyes blazing with uncanny light, as if sensing his father's fate. Rising, her gown a shimmer of moonlight, Isis clenched her ankh, its glow a defiant beacon. "Seth," she vowed as she walked back toward the tents, "you shall not get away with this." Her words were as a thunderclap that shook the riverbank, and the waters of the Nile carried them far away, far out into the open sea, where the coffin bearing Osiris drifted on.
Thanks for watching yet another episode of Timbuktu Tales. Like, share and subscribe to watch more of such amazing tales from Africa. Are there any stories you would like us to work on? Feel free to share your ideas in the comments section below. And hey, don't forget to hit that notification bell to always get updates.